Let's go for it!
Hey everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave, the host here at The Dark Stuff. Want to do a quick video and just kind of capture my thoughts on the passing of Chris Cornell, which happened yesterday. I've now had more than a day to sort of absorb the information and kind of think about it and kind of think about what I wanted to say, because I've been a fan of this guy since I was in high school, and that was the 1980s. So since back in 1988-89 when I first heard of Soundgarden. I was hit pretty hard yesterday when the news happened. You know, I'd been working on a video that I was doing, which was just a hodgepodge of excess footage that I had that had never found a place to fit into a video. One of those was the fact that I saw Soundgarden a week ago on May 12th at the a festival called Rock Fest at the West Fair Amphitheater in Council Bluffs, Iowa. So I'd seen Soundgarden 6 days prior. And then to get this news that Cornell was dead, and the early reports that it was a suicide. The subject is a hard one to talk about for a lot of people. It's a sensitive subject. It's something that people have very strong opinions on, and I found this out a couple of years ago when Robin Williams killed himself a few years ago. I was really mad about some things that people had said in the media, especially Gene Simmons of Kiss and Henry Rollins. Just some of the really insensitive things, and calling people cowards and chickens and stuff like that when they kill themselves. And this time, it feels like the celebrity community has been a bit more restrained. I didn't hear any stupid shit coming out of Gene Simmons' mouth. And certainly Henry Rollins has learned not to make comments like that anymore. I still dealt with a little bit on Facebook, and I got into it with somebody who apparently I was friends with in high school. I don't really remember the guy very much anymore. I hear people say this thing of like, well, how could Chris Cornell be so depressed? His life is so perfect, you know? He's a famous rock star. He's been in 2 hugely successful bands. He achieved everything he ever wanted to achieve. He's a good-looking guy. He has a great family. He has all this stuff. It's not about that, you know? You could be a guy like him, incredibly successful. You could just be an average person. You could be whatever. It's in your brain. It's a chemical imbalance. It's a mental, I don't like to use the word defect, but it is something that is wrong in your brain. Your perception is off, and you don't see things the way that others see it, you know, or at least see your situation. It's not about that. It's not about whether you're you know, great things are happening to you, therefore you feel great. You can have great things happening to you. I mean, the Chris Cornell show, the final show, was a sold-out show in Detroit. A sold-out show. And then he went back to the hotel and ended up dying. Now, killing himself. Now, there's a story floating around that his family now... It's not a story, I should say. I should correct that to say that Cornell's wife has now issued a statement saying that she thinks that this was not just a straight-up, I intentionally tried to kill myself with Chris Cornell, that he was taking Ativan, which is a medication that he was prescribed, an anti-anxiety medication, and that she feels that he might have overdone that, you know? He does have a past with depression and with addiction, so sometimes, you know, if you're addicted to one substance, you take another substance and you kind of tend to overdo it, and she thought that was maybe a possibility. And that the side effects of this, I'm going to read it right off the internet, the side effects of this medication that he was taking can cause paranoid, or suicidal ideation and impair memory, judgment, and coordination. Combining with other substances, particularly alcohol, can slow breathing and possibly lead to death. Okay? There's footage on the internet, and I'm not going to show it here. You can find it, of Cornell's last show, and in fact his last song even. You can watch it. I watched a little bit of the Black Hole Sun performance from that night. He's definitely not right, okay? He just looked lost, and wasn't the intensity. I mean, he wasn't screwing up the words, but he just didn't seem to be really as together as he was. And like, I saw him a week ago and he sounded fine. So my just thoughts are like, if you're going to come on and say, well, you're a chicken if you commit suicide, or you're a coward, or you're whatever, just fuck you, and just spare me the time of having to block you, because I don't want to deal with it, okay? You clearly have no understanding of mental illness. You can't just say something stupid like somebody said to me on Facebook of like, well, all you have to do is just find someone to talk to. You can always talk to somebody, bro. You know, first of all, don't call me bro and expect me to take you seriously, but that's point one. Point two is, it's not about just talking to somebody, okay? If it were just like, I feel sad today, I wish I could talk to somebody and then I would feel better, it's different. Even when you do the talk therapy, it's not just talking to somebody. There's a method to what that therapist is saying to try to elicit certain responses and to try to get you to, you know, reroute your mental processes. It's not about just, oh man, if he had just talked to somebody, he wouldn't have done it. He just performed an incredibly successful show. He's been on a tour that's been going, from what I understand, pretty well. Performs a sellout show and then goes to the hotel, and there's clearly something wrong there. And, Cornell's music has been a big part of my life. I was a huge Soundgarden fan, not so much Audioslave and his solo career, but I appreciated the talent there. But, he left behind a great legacy. There's probably some other unreleased material that's out there. At least I hope so. If you have something positive to say about Chris Cornell's legacy, I'd love to hear it. If you're just going to shit on him for how he ended his life or how his life ended, spare that for somebody else. I save that for somebody else. I just don't want to hear it. So his legacy is his music. I'm going to show a couple of records that I have. Here's a little bootleg that I got. This is them doing Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again, and Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except Me and My Monkey. Two great covers. Here's the debut album, Ultra Mega OK. It's my original pressing on SST. But if we're going chronologically, I guess, hold on then, okay. Here's my original Screaming Life and FOP CD. Those are the first two EPs put together that Sub Pop put out. Then Sub Pop reissued it, and here's the reissue version with Screaming Life and FOP, the first two EPs. Okay. Then you'd have Ultra Mega OK. Okay. Then you'd have... there's the reissue of Ultra Mega OK. Bam. Here's Louder Than Love. This was the one where I became a fan. This album still stands up to this fucking day. It is so intense and great. Definitely their best album. I don't even have to hesitate to think about that. It's easily the best album. Here's a Japanese import called Loudest Love with some bonus tracks on there that weren't on the original album. Next you'd go Bad Motorfinger. This is the special 2-disc Soames set that has the extra disc there. Has the bonus tracks. Came out right at the time that the album came out. I've also got my Outshined 12-inch. Great record. Okay, next record is this one. This is the major one, Super Unknown. Their Led Zeppelin 4 or whatever, the one with Black Hole Sun and all the major hits on it. Fell on Black Days, My Wave, Black Hole Sun, Spoon Man. I mean, just so many great songs on this record. This is my original pressing, Gatefold album. Their last regular studio album, Down on the Upside. This is also an original pressing, 1996, A&M. Here's a Jesus Christ Posed CD single, Rusty Cage. I've got my Soundgarden Live on I-5. Good live record from Soundgarden. What else do I have? Well, you know, I stated I wasn't a huge Audioslave fan. I do have their first album as a download, and it's not bad, but I don't want to be critical of Chris Cornell. I'm trying to be positive on this video. Here's a little retrospective CD that he has. This has stuff from Audioslave, Solo, and Soundgarden. It was a promotional CD. This was his debut solo album, Euphoria Morning. Those are the only that's the only solo album that I actually own of his. The more recent Soundgarden album, their comeback album, I think it was called King Animal, I have as a download. It's a very good album. I just don't have it physically to show. But it was a solid comeback album, especially that Been Away Too Long song was fantastic.
I've been away for too long.
You know, I'm going to show another clip or so from when I saw them last week. Just gonna say rest in peace, Chris Cornell. You'll be missed. I mean, you made a lot of great music. You crossed so many different genres and boundaries. I mean, you were punk, you were an indie artist, you were a heavy metal, you were alternative rock, you're now classic rock because you've been around for so long. And 52 years old is too young. That's all I'm gonna say on the subject. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.